Treasurer, good to see you again.
Good morning, Kochie.
You're hoping these changes will reduce the time and cost of borrowing. Why do you think that's needed?
Well, credit and its flow to the community will be absolutely critical to our economic recovery, whether it's in the housing sector, whether it's in the retail sector, whether it's in the tourism sector. And right now, we have a regulatory approach that's too complex, that is too costly, that is overly prescriptive, that's a one-size-fits-all model. So what we're seeking to do is to remove that duplication, to streamline that process and to enable the lending to take place without borrowers having to provide their Uber Eats slips and their Netflix subscriptions and all sorts of details which are unnecessary to get their loan or their extension on their credit card.
Because we're basically in a credit squeeze at the moment, aren't we? It's just too hard to borrow. But the reason it's too hard is because of the Credit Act introduced after the global financial crisis, when it was too easy to borrow. Borrowers lied on their application forms about how much they earned and how much they spent and got in above their heads. So how do you bring that balance?
Well, we know that APRA already is a regulator for the banks, or what are called the ADIs. But overlaying that has been an extra series of regulations with ASIC. So we're saying that the APRA regulations will continue and that ASIC will monitor the non-ADIs. We've also put in more protections for some of those vulnerable consumers who are using what are called consumer leases or small account credit contracts. We're trying to get the balance right. The Governor of the Reserve Bank has commented about this and says the banks are so concerned about getting on the wrong side of these regulations that they're not providing the level of credit that we need across the economy. So it's all about getting the balance right. It's all about it being in the interests of consumers, and that's what these changes are designed to do.
But also borrowers have got to understand, don't they, that previously, under existing laws, the banks took responsibility for making sure you can afford the loan. Under your changes, we as borrowers have got to take that responsibility, don't we? You just can't blame the bank anymore.
We're going to move that culture from the lender being from a lender beware to a borrower responsibility. Now, a lender will only want to lend money where it's going to be profitable to do so, and the hope is that their client will pay that money back. So they're going to still need to verify the income and other details. But right now, the system and the pendulum has swung too far one way, and it's not in the interest of the consumer. So this is a really significant change. It will make it easier to get credit, which is going to be critical to our COVID recovery.
Yep, that's a good change. Treasurer, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Always good to be with you.
Yes, Sam.